Hello and welcome to another video. So if you ever make a decision that feels great when you say it out loud, but once you're actually in the middle of it, you wonder if you've completely lost the plot. That was me on a bike ride somewhere between Liverpool and Chester yesterday. 100 miles, one day, zero training, stupidly. I hadn't ridden a bike properly in 2 years. I'm a runner, not a cyclist. But when the opportunity came up to do the Liverpool ride, I thought, how hard can it be? Turns out, very. Let me take you through the journey, the highs, the many lows, the gels, the hills, and how I do things differently, very differently next time. Welcome to another weird and wacky challenge. So I haven't cycled really in 2 years. Done a couple of rides just before. But today we're going to try and do the Chester-Liverpool 100 miler. Done it 2 years ago. It's a great event. I'm going to try and film it. I haven't even been on a bike that much recently, so we'll see what footage we can get. Make sure you give this a like. Comment down below if you've done any ridiculously stupid sport challenges this year. And if you like it, it'll boost the algorithm. It'll make it so the video goes out to more and it'll grow the channel. And that's the aim here. So follow along, guys. Let's hope I don't fall off like 2 years ago. See if we can get this done. So it started with a text from a mate. Do you fancy doing the LCL 100 mile bike ride, Liverpool to Chester and back? Now, any sensible person would ask, when is it? Have a train for this? Do I even own any padded shorts? But not me. As per normal, I said yes immediately because I'm a runner. I like a challenge. And because deep down, I thought fitness transfers. If I can run marathons and half marathons, surely I can just ride a bike. Spoiler, it does not transfer, at least not without reminding your legs how to turn cranks instead of pounding pavement. So in the 2 years prior, my bike had lived in a little cupboard, which I'll show you, collecting dust and guilt. And my last real ride was probably a casual 25 miler about 2 years ago. So yeah, my training plan was non-existent. I told myself I got a few rides in before. However, life got busy. I was training in the gym, training for other runs. The weather then got bad. I made every excuse I could not to get on the bike. Then one morning I woke up and realised the ride was tomorrow. So I found my helmet, pumped up the tyres, took the bike to get a service, dug out my lycra bib shorts, which had somehow shrunk. Maybe I'd grown doing squats in the gym, we never know. I packed 5 energy gels and that was it. I was ready, or so I thought I was ready. So I packed the bike into the car, I drove down to Birkenhead and I rode down to the tunnel to meet my mate. So, rode through the tunnel. The tunnel was shut for the morning to let people through, and that's where the start was, on the other side of the Birkenhead tunnel. So the start line in Liverpool, it had a great buzz. There was cyclists everywhere, clearly seasoned carbon frames, clipless shoes, legs like tree trunks. Not me, there with my no calves whatsoever and my very minimal cycling experience. And then there was me, wobbling on cleats I hadn't used since 2022, praying I wouldn't topple over at the start line and that my feet would just clip into the pedals as we went down the hills. But here we went. So we rolled out in waves. The first few miles were actually okay. I was cruising, chatting to riders, chatting to my mate, admiring the route as we come out of the tunnel into where I live on the Wirral. But very quickly I realised something. My position on the bike was not comfortable at all. Everything ached. My back, my neck, my sit bones, which by mile 10 felt like I was perched on bricks. Still, I was moving. I figured I'd warm into it. And at mile 15, I took a first gel. We got down to Parkgate in Chester, and then at the end of that, that's where the hills first started. And I felt okay up until that point, but then hills, when you haven't trained, were bad. So, have you ever hit a hill on a bike after not riding for 2 years? It's like trying to climb a mountain with jelly legs and no grip whatsoever. Except, the mountain is only 300 feet and everyone around you is overtaking you like it's flat. The first proper hill came just after about 15 to 20 miles. I dropped the easiest gear I had and it still felt like I was paddling through cement, as you can see here. People were passing me. One guy even gave me an encouraging nod as he stood up on the pedals, dancing past me like a pro. I was hunched over, breathing heavy, questioning every decision I'd made in the past 24 hours. It got worse. Around 35 miles, somewhere near the Chester approach. A slow drag that seemed to go on forever. I stopped halfway up, pretending to check something on my phone, but really, I was just trying not to vomit. When I remembered my gels were in the back of my cycling jersey, gel number 2, hour 2, down it went, slightly lemony, slightly regretful. But I got back on. One hill at a time, I told myself, just make it to halfway, then it's homeward bound.
Well done, mate. Did you get that on the GoPro?
Your legs are shaking.
Someone was saying, just then when they went past an little group, that's shortest one. That was a beast one. Is that the beast, that one?
I have no idea.
I think it must have been there. Oh yeah, do you want to see him on now?
Yeah, go.
For fuck. Let me just, I think I've got my leaving it just in case.
Another climb. Struggling with these. Not going to set any records today, but still getting it done. 100 miles. It's no fun and games. It's so difficult, especially with the hills. 40 miles in now.
So the first stop was around 30 to 40 miles in. I can't really remember, to be honest. It was a blur by that point. However, it was brilliant. There was a food stall there, and gladly I accepted a sausage sandwich that I paid for. I needed the food. There was bananas. The event, LCL, made sure that everything was there at the stop sites and the feeding sites. There was water, breakfast, cereal bars, Haribo. So I loaded up my jersey with food, took as much on as I could without being sick, and then reluctantly got back on the bike.
To the halfway point, legs are absolutely in bits. So 84 kilometres in now. Into 160 for 100 miles. Burn 1,992 calories. It's absolutely smashing it. It's a great event again, put on by LCL. Didn't do it last year, but this year it's great. I just wish I'd done a bit more training for it. However, hopefully makes a good YouTube video, listening to me suffer after doing no training whatsoever. For running, the weights would have kind of balanced it out. But no, cycling's its own game. Definitely should have done some training for it. Catch up with you towards the end.
So, crossing into Chester felt like a mental victory. 50 miles in, halfway. My legs were toast, my shoulders were tight, but mentally I was hanging on in there. Stopped briefly, stretched, drank water, ate some of the breakfast bars that I took from the last feed station, reapplied some chamois cream. Don't judge me, you would too. It hurts being on a bike for that long. I'd been taking one gel every hour like clockwork. It was honestly one of the only things that were keeping me going. I had no real food plan, just basically take gels, use some rehydration sachets, and just stop and have some bananas at the stop sites. But this is where it kind of went wrong. So the 50 miles back, this is when it got real. Looking back, the first 50 miles weren't that bad, actually. Somewhere around mile 65, I bonked. Hard. Not like a gentle fade, I mean full on. Legs didn't want to work, seeing spots. It was like, is this how I'm gonna die kind of bonk. I just crested another small hill when I realised my cadence was shot. I could barely turn the pedals, my heart rate was through the roof. I stopped, got off the bike, had to stand on the grass verge looking like a tragic Tour de France dropout. I took a gel, that didn't help. Took another, still didn't help. Took some painkillers that my mate gave me. Waited for a couple of minutes, took some deep breaths, told myself to get to mile 70, and eventually I got back on the bike. Slowly, stiffly, 1 mile at a time. The only way I got through it in the end is I started counting down instead of up. 30 to go, then 25. Just get back to the Whittle. It's not far after this. Then, there it was, the final feed station, about 15 miles away from home. Got myself a Mars bar and a sandwich and a Lucasade, and then got back on the bike to try and get it finished. So due to a road closure, there was a couple of miles took off. I think it ended up being about 91 miles in the end, not the actual 100, which is slightly annoying. However, it was kind of inviting, considering the pain I was in. And another 9 miles, God knows whether I would have made it or not. So at around miles 85, my legs were gone, but my brain kicked in. Only like 10 miles left, single digits. We were back on the Whittle, had a small hill to climb in Bevington, if anyone knows what Rest Hill Road is. It's a dreadful hill. But anyway, you can see that there. So you could start to see the Liverpool skyline again, coming down into Birkenhead. The pain was still there, but it was quieter now. I started thinking about all the food I was going to have, the warm bath, sitting down on something soft, as I was in a lot of pain. And then, coming through the tunnel, you kind of knew it was the end. However, if anyone's ever ridden or ran through the Birkenhead tunnel before, you'll know the final stretch of it is a god-awful hill. The finishes, the LCL bike ride, goes all the way up to the town hall in Liverpool, and that's where you can see the finish. And at mile 91, I think it was, I rolled in, empty, wrecked, and completely, absurdly proud that I managed to get to the end. I don't know how I did it. After mile 30, I was ready to stop, but somehow managed to plough through. So, to finish it, let's talk about fueling real quick. I took one gel every hour, more or less. That was about 20 to 25 grams of carbs per gel. For a 100-mile bike ride, at like 91 in the end, about 6.5 to 7 hours ride time, that's barely enough. In hindsight, I should have aimed for 40 to 60 grams of carbs per hour. Gels are okay, but they don't replace real food. I did have real food at the stop sites, but it just wasn't enough, and I didn't have it when I needed to have it. I just took it when it was there. By hour 4, the gels started tasting like syrup. They were horrible, and I was regretting taking them. So yes, they kept me moving, but it was survival, not really performance. If I ever do it again, which stupidly I probably will, I'll plan out my nutrition like a race. More carbs, salty snacks, hydration tablets, and maybe even just take a sandwich with me to have on the bike. I think I need to plan it more like I do with my runs. Like when I go on a longer run or a race, I seem to be able to keep myself going. Stupidly, I thought, how hard can a bike be? Turns out ridiculously hard. The last part, let's be real, I did it, but I suffered, and it didn't have to be that way at all. Here's how I train differently next time. I do some base miles. I'll start riding at least 3 months out. 2 short rides in a week, 1 long ride at weekends, build up gradually. I'd add hill repeats or routes with elevation. You can't fake hill fitness, trust me, I tried. I had to go into the smallest ring at the front, the smallest cog at the back. I was basically just pedaling, going nowhere, being overtaken by everyone. The only way I think you can train for hills on a bike is by being on hills. Strength work, I do that anyway. However, I think I need to do more leg work in the gym. So glutes, hamstrings, lower back. Cycling uses muscles differently from running. I thought, I'm quite fit. I can near enough run a half marathon in an hour and a half. How hard can the bike be? It uses different muscles. Muscles I don't feel when I'm running. And then bike fit as well, I ignored this as well. Big mistake, my posture was awful by mile 60. A proper fit would have saved my neck and my knees and my legs probably more. I probably wouldn't have had to take painkillers, which wasn't great. I do long rides as well on consecutive days, like back-to-back rides. They would have helped build up endurance and resilience, and I'd test my nutrition over them rides. I'd make sure I tried different gels, the kit. Luckily my body didn't rebel, but it could have gone really badly at mile 60 or 70. At one point I was ready to just give up. Basically, respect the distance. Although I didn't do the full 100 miles, 91 miles isn't a joke. Even if you think you're fit, I know I'm fit, but this was a completely different level of fitness. If you're going to try and go out and do a long bike ride, make sure that you train for a bike ride. Yeah, I attended the Chester-Liverpool bike ride. It was supposed to be 100 miles, unfortunately, due to a road closure that the event couldn't help. It reduced down to 91 miles. No training, just stubbornness, gels, and the inability to say no to a challenge. It hurt a lot, but it taught me more than any comfortable ride ever could be. Would I do it again? Honestly, yes. But next time I'm training properly, I'm eating actual food, and I'm definitely getting new bib shorts. To anyone out there thinking of jumping into a challenge like this, go for it. But prepare, fuel, train, respect the distance, and maybe, just maybe, bring a few extra gels. You'll thank yourself on mile 70. Thanks for listening. Now if you excuse me, I need a nap for at least a week.